hội thảo trực tuyến ngày hôm nay của Deloitte. Buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay của chúng ta sẽ được tổ chức bằng tiếng Anh và sẽ được dịch thuật trực tuyến sang tiếng Việt. Để nghe bằng tiếng Việt, các anh chị vui lòng nhấn chọn vào nút Interpretation ở phía góc dưới bên tay phải để chọn vào kênh tiếng Việt. Còn nếu các anh chị muốn tiếp tục nghe ở kênh tiếng Anh, các anh chị vui lòng giữ nguyên ở kênh này. Good morning everyone and welcome to the webinar. The slides will be presented in English and translated into Vietnamese. To keep listening in English, please remain at the current level channel. Otherwise, please click at the button Interpretation right below to the right on the screen to switch to the Vietnamese version. Cho em hỏi mọi người đã chọn được kênh phù hợp với mình chưa ạ? Nếu mà các anh chị muốn nghe bằng tiếng Việt thì các anh chị hãy nhấn vào nút Interpretation ở phía góc dưới bên tay phải để chọn kênh tiếng Việt. Còn nếu các anh chị muốn tiếp tục nghe bằng tiếng Anh thì các anh chị giữ nguyên ở kênh này. Các anh chị có thể nhắn giúp em là mình đã vào được kênh phù hợp chưa ạ? Cho em hỏi là mình đã vào được kênh phù hợp chưa ạ? Mình sẽ có hai kênh là tiếng Việt và tiếng Anh ạ. Dạ vâng, nếu mà mình muốn nghe bằng kênh tiếng Việt thì mình vui lòng chọn nút Interpretation và chọn tiếng Việt Vietnamese. Còn nếu tiếp tục nghe bằng tiếng Anh thì mình sẽ giữ ở kênh này. Welcome to this webinar, Cyber Risk Data Loss Access Violation in SAP, Solution to Secure Your SAP Environment. Deloitte is organizing this webinar with the purpose of supporting enterprises using SAP to maintain a strong security and control environment with continuous monitoring, as well as mitigate the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. The presentation will be shared by Deloitte facilitator, Mr. Tang Tanki, Executive Director and SAP GRC Solution Lead at Risk Advisory of Deloitte Southeast Asia. If you have any question during the webinar, please send it to the Q&A box and we'll be addressing your questions in the Q&A section at the end of this webinar. Now, I won't keep you wait any longer. Mr. Tanki, please start sharing your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Tang. I hope you can see my presentation deck. Maybe before we get into the details, firstly, thanks for your time to join this webinar hosted by Deloitte. A short introduction of myself. You can just call me Tang. I'm based in Deloitte Singapore office. I'm a partner in Deloitte Southeast Asia, taking care of SAP governance, risk, and compliance services. Today in our webinar, we will share with you how the organizations nowadays digitalize their business controls and also to address their cybersecurity concerns in the world. So in our today's slides, we have put them into two sections in general. One is about how the business controls can be digitalized in the SAP operation by using SAP technologies. Second one is in a digital world, how we will be able to address cybersecurity concerns, cybersecurity risk. So our presentation may be around 40 minutes. Then I will leave the 15 minutes for Q&A to interact with our participants today. Let me get into the first section. So the first topic that we have is about SAP business control digitalization. I believe that if you have been in areas of finance or financial reporting or internal control, internal audit or risk management, Nowadays, you definitely have a lot of questions or requirements about how I be able to automate most of my internal controls or business controls, right? So more and more companies are looking into this area when they are doing, for example, like SAP implementations, like SAP S/4HANA system implementation or SAP ERP system implementations and so on, right? So they want to have a stronger, more automated, digitalized internal control environments, right? So by doing that, we have quite a number of approach, right? Yeah, to address this. So firstly is we have need to identify what are the internal control we are looking at, right? So for example, in my screen here, we have internal control over financial reporting, right? So this is what we call it ICFR, right? ICFR. So ICFR is the most important topic in listed companies in Singapore, Europe, in US, right? All the listed companies in this major exchange, they need to comply to ICFR, internal control over financial reporting. So nowadays, the ICFR need to be automated, right? How we are going to automate that? We need to implement some new technologies, right? So the technology will be help us to increase the assurance level of the finance reporting by 100% screening, 100% screening the business operation, all right? Then we will also be able to drive the efficiency with less efforts in the internal control or process automations, right? Then lastly is provide real-time visibility to our business about how is our controls working, right? So let me just show you some examples. Yeah, how this achieved, right? Is basically we will combine the knowledge that Deloitte has. We call it the Deloitte Control Library, right? Plus an internal control robot, right? An internal control robot. So this internal control robot is SAP GRC solution, SAP Governance, Risk and Compliance solution. So the Deloitte's control knowledge put into an internal control robot. Then what we do is to do continuous control monitoring, right? We do monitoring in the in your business operations. For example, the business operations you will have on these bunch of things, SAP S/4HANA, ERP, CRM, SRM, and many other solutions, right? So basically, it's a robot that running, doing the control auto monitoring in your applications, okay? So for example, right, nowadays, a lot of companies, they have a lot of transactions, right? This is a real example that we have, for example, like 95% of the global revenue are recorded in SAP S/4HANA. Then how many transactions we are looking at? 60 million, 15 million, 5 million. So you know, in the old days, if you are an internal control practice, right, it's impossible for you to check all these transactions. It's impossible, right? So you need to have a system to help you to do the internal control or business control management, right? So that's where an example we are showing here, a global organization using financial controls, right? So they have 200 controls, right, running, and 300 controls and so on. They are all automated by the GRC platform. So one side is the finance transactions, another side is business controls, right? So we put them together, then we will be able to give our bosses, our board of directors or executive management the confidence level of how is our business operation are governed by automated business controls. All right. So that is very important, the confidence level to the board of management. Yeah. So this is an example of how the other organizations are doing. Right. If I move on, So this is an actual example of the outcome of the automation, right? So originally, for this client, for this organization, right, they have in total around digitalized by using the SAP GRC solution, we were able to increase automation to 55%, right? So it becomes like 2 to 4 controls are auto, right? It's auto controls, right? So this is the level of the automation of your controls can be expected. But of course, there will be remaining manual controls. Some of the manual controls are not able to automate it. For example, you need to check the policy, you need to have the evidence of the physical checks and so on. So those controls you are not able to automate, right? But when you are running a ERP system, when you are using SAP ERP or S4HANA, we expect that around 80% of your internal controls should be able to automate it, right, or digitalize, right, in the nowadays operation. Okay, that's a goal that we are looking at. So when we are talking about business controls, right, so what are the topics we have or the type of controls? So the type of controls you can see here, we normally classify into business oriented and IT oriented. For business oriented, we look at business data monitoring. Data monitoring, right? This is a lot of heavy data analysis out there. So for example, like whether we have duplicate purchase order, do we have ghost vendor, do we have ghost employee, okay, or do we have double payments or credit limit violations, and so on and so forth. Right? So these are very important business controls that we need to monitor the business data. So the data monitoring is one area, right? Another area is we focus on application configurations. So you know the ERP system has a lot of configurations. So we want to make sure the system configuration is correct. For example, like we have three-way match, we have other auto sales block. Those controls are active, right? Then the number 4 will be the access control, right? Security roles, segregation of duty, SOD, those controls are considered business controls as well, and so on. So these are some examples that I want to share. Right? But of course, we have prepared a simple illustration about how is the transformation looks like, right? When we have this, these controls. Yeah. So if let's say I look at the current operation on the left, right? I believe maybe at your company at this moment is on the left side. Okay. So you will have some officer that need to extract some data, from SAP, then perform a manual analysis and discuss with the control owner, right? Like review Excel report, and follow up, right? So it's very, very manual, very manual. The way that we are doing the control digitalization is through a technology called CCM, continuous control monitoring, right? So this is done by robot, right? But by the machine. So the machine will analyze the data, in SAP, for example, like Central Finance or others, right? Analyze data. Then if there is exception, it will send an email. If yes, there is an exception, it will send an email, right? So for example, like this, like send an email. It will send an email to the control owner, right? So the control owner will receive an email when there is a problem. If there is no problem, the control are good, the control owner will not receive any email. They will keep quiet. The machine will keep quiet. Okay. Only when there is a problem, the control owner will receive email. Okay, that is very important. Okay. So once they receive an email, they need to look at the details and determine the follow-up actions. Then the robot will track the issue with full audit trail and auto document and the filings. Okay, so all these things will support you to do an auto compliance to the ICFR. Right? So how it looks like, right? Right. So later I will show some example. Right, I'll show some example how it looks like. Right. So I just have a post here. I think this examples that like I want to share more. Right? Let me just put up a slide, right, to show you some examples. Yeah. Just a moment. Yeah. So let me bring up another deck. Yeah. I hope you can see my screen here. Yeah. Right. So what are the things will be commonly available in this digitalization, digital controls? Okay. So you can see we have put in an example list. Is a snapshot of our Deloitte control library. Right. So this library, you can see we have classified them into procure to pay, order to cash, balance and controlling, and IT governance. Right. There are examples. Right. So for example, like master data, we are looking at 30 material master data. Right? I know in Vietnam we have a lot of manufacturing companies. Then you may have a lot of material data, right? So the continuous control monitoring or digital controls will be able to identify what are the dirty data you have. Right? For example, the materials are redundant, materials are inactive or sleep, right? So on. Then in terms of procurement, for example, like this one, the machine will auto-identify if there is any purchase order is created after the invoice. Okay, so this is a violation. Okay, it's a procurement policy. You should have PO first, then you have invoice. All right, not have invoice first, then got a PO. Okay, so these are very common violations. Then, for example, we have SOD monitoring, like whether we, for example, like this one sales order, one guy may create a sales order, but at the same time, if the person has SOD violation, they may be able to manage the credit limit of the customer. Right? So it breaks out your credit limit control. Right? This is also a big problem. Right? So this is just a snapshot. But you know, when we're talking about control digitalization or automations, right? The most important is the library that you need to have. So maybe I just deep dive into this. This is the Deloitte assets. You know, we are keep building the assets. So let me just show you an example, right? So this is what we call Deloitte control library, right? Deloitte control library. So let me just bring up the examples. So you can see we have order to cash. They have identified the top 10 challenges in order to cash in terms of operation risk or internal control challenges, right? Then for this, each of the area that we have very detailed control design, right? Like customer master data from different control type. What are the areas that we have? Then move on to, for example, like sales order, move on to credit management, billing, and so on, right? Then not only just order to cash, but we also have purchase to pay, record to report, HR, supply chain, and so on, right? So you can see this is the brain, right, of the robot. So when you engage, let's say for example, like have a internal control robot or a digitalized of your business control, you need to have the brain, right, for the machine, for the SAP GRC solution to do the control automation for you. This is the design of the machine, all right, of the robot. All right, this is very important. Yeah. So when we have our projects, right, normally we will discuss with our client, right, to say what are the business process you are running. You are manufacturing, or you are retail, or you are finance. You know which process you are looking at, right? Then we will drill down into our control library. For example, like manufacturing companies, they pay a lot of attention to purchase to pay, right? Then we look into vendor management controls, looking into purchase order controls, purchase requisition controls. Then we tailor-made. We tailor-made this, then train tell the robot that for your business process, your data, then what are things we need to control? We need to digitalize. Yeah. Okay. So this is important. Let me just show you about how the solution looks like after it went live. Right. So it actually deliver a report, a dashboard. Right. So let me just open the dashboard. The one I'm sharing on the webinar today, right, is a real project that we did before. So I'm just capturing some examples. Right. Let me just share this. So what you will have is, for instance, yeah, for instance, right, this is the actual project that we went live in 2018, right, 2 years ago already. So basically, you will have dashboards like talking about how is your internal control operating, right? Then what is the compliance level? What are the issues you have? How is the trend of the issue? And the solution is available on laptop and also on mobile. For example, the screenshot here is from iPhone, right? Then, for example, right, let's say if you are running a multinational company, right, then you will have a different control owners, different process. You want to know how is my overall compliance status, right? How is the ICFR status looks like? Then for your different country, different business area, different process, how is my controls running? Of course, you can see here, green means good, red means bad, right? Not so good, right? So, and by business processes. So for our client, they will just, identify the red items and call the control owner to say, hey, how's your business? Why your department have so many control issues, right? Can we have a discussion? Okay. Then they will also look at the historical performance, whether those business controls are in a problem, or they have problem before but close the issue, or they are still in a lot of issues are there, still are open, no one taking care of that, what is the agent of the problem, right? So this so on and so forth. So this will be very useful for the business, let's say the digital controls to drive better business performance, right? Of course, we have been doing this for many projects. So you can see there are many different dashboards available in different clients, right? So they just want to have a different view. So you can see have Power BI, have ClickSense just now. They have Tableau, right? This is Fury, yeah. So all these are the end outcome of digitalized of the business controls, right? So for example, like a lot of formats, different clients, they are using different formats, right? In this webinar, I cannot deep dive, just give you a taste about once the platform is live, right? The controls actually are monitored by the dashboards. Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is our first topic, right? About business controls. Right. Let me come back to here to our second topic about cybersecurity. Right. So just now we are talking about the controls in a digital world, right? But the digital world itself has a risk, which is cybersecurity risk. Usually the cybersecurity risk, right, is one of the hot topic for all the board of directors in Singapore. So for example, like every company in Singapore is worried about cybersecurity. Although they have a very nice digital foundation, their finance operation are using SAP, their CRM are using SAP, all their systems are live, right? Digitalized. Now they are worried about, am I secure in this digital world? Okay, so that we're talking about cybersecurity. Okay, so for cybersecurity, so I just want to take one example, right, to share about our view about the cybersecurity, right? So in terms of cybersecurity, let's say, for example, I take SAP S4HANA as example. So you may aware of SAP S4HANA. Normally it's on cloud, right? It's on cloud. It's not in your office. It's somewhere hosted by Google or by Microsoft or by this Ali Cloud, right? They are on the cloud. So we want to make sure that our data is secure, our application is secure, right? So what are the areas that we need to look at, right? In this webinar, we may not be able to deep dive into all these areas, but I want to give you a heads up about these are the key areas that we need to focus, right? So we need to focus on application security, right? Data protection, encryption, right? Important, and cloud security. These three are the most important topics. Maybe I can say this is the first priority for a lot of time, right? Then let me change my color, my pens, my color. All right. Second priority is this what we call it mobile security. Like if you are using a mobile phone, right, or iPad or those pad, right, to access your platform, mobile security. Then we call it secure by design, right? It's a development, right? If you are doing any application development, so the security in the design itself must be in place, right? Then what we call it the security code development, right? So these are a few things are the second priority, right? Then the last one I want to highlight, maybe let's say in other color, right? In blue, right? The rest of the areas, normally you can rely on the other party to help you to do, right? Third party. So for example, like Deloitte. So you can ask Deloitte to do a pen test. You can ask Deloitte to help you to monitor your application security. You can get Deloitte to do the infra security monitoring or identity monitoring, right? So those are a few areas that you can outsource. You can outsource, right? To get the third party to help you to do testing or monitoring, right? Okay, so this is an overview of the areas that you may need to pay attention for security, cybersecurity. But what Deloitte does, right? Deloitte does all these services. So Deloitte can do application security, cloud security, and so on. So to help our organizations be confident on their cybersecurity areas, all right? Just show you an example, right? For example, like what we do in S4 projects. So when we have client doing the SAP S4 HANA project, we will do the access control and the cybersecurity, right? Access control and cyber. So this is something like during the newly implementation, we want to make sure that the design and the development are secure, right? So when you have a new system, you need to make sure the system from the day one is secure, right? For example, like the case here, if you are implementing a S4 HANA system, right, then we will do access control, cybersecurity inside, and when the system go live on the first day, it has proper cybersecurity controls, right? Then give the confidence to our board of directors, right, about the solutions you have, the digital world you're having is secure. Yeah. Maybe in a very simple language, right? Normally we will do something like this, right? Let me just zoom in. So normally what we do is, firstly, if you already have SAP operations, right, or you have some other ERP solutions operation, for example, like Oracle or PeopleSoft or so on, right? Normally when we do the cybersecurity, right, we will do assessment first. Assessment. So the assessment normally take 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks. So you do the assessment, assess like these 3 areas. Your overall operation, we call it the discovery workshop. We assess the SAP, assess the AWS, then becomes like a SAP cyber cyber risk report. Then you can have hotfix, or we can have further recommendations, right? So what we do from this, 3 layers, the overall management, we look at, through the workshops, through some interviews or manual review, right? Then we will understand how's your current operation in terms of manage your cyber risk, okay? Then for second pillar, SAP security, we will look at the application security, and all this we perform testing, right? We test whether these controls are working fine, whether you have these controls set up properly, right? Then the third one is if you are running on this AWS, for example, AWS, right? Then we will check your AWS security setting, right? HANA on AWS, OS level on AWS, backups or info security components on AWS. So all these things will be checked on the AWS. So you are not only just tested on your operation, on your application, but also on your cloud. Okay, so have a comprehensive coverage. Yeah. So normally our journey was starting from here, right? So for let's say if you already have some digital assets, then we will do an assessment like this. Then you will have a report that highlight what are the hotfix you need to do, what are the further action you need to take, right? Then we can help you in this journey, right? To make sure that your digital assets are secured, right? So let me just back to the slides, right? Again, yeah. If let's say I want to highlight the most important knowledge that Deloitte has, or as nowadays in a digital world, our kind or our team here should have, is let me just go to a page here. Yeah. So just now the slides I show about the business controls is a very big library, right? It's a very big library. But for the cybersecurity controls, we also have a library, right? We have a snapshot like this, okay? Again, this is the most important assets that Deloitte has, hosting the knowledge of cybersecurity key controls, right? So, a lot of hackers, they want to hack your system, or there are maybe some, data breach or so on may happen. But from our experience that we are looking at these key control points, so to prevent those cyber attacks or cyber security risks to happen, right? So what are the areas we are looking at in a summary is application layers, operation layers, and the database, plus the overall cloud security layers, right? Then in some examples, like let me just put out my pen. So for example, like this remote call, if you are using SAP, you may know this RFC stuff, user management, applications security parameters, right? Then emails, web browsers, right? These are, nowadays we need to plus mobile UI, right? Mobile UI. Then application layers. Then after that, OS level authentication, right? Especially the OS level write authorizations, inventory of the softwares running on the operation systems, right? Malware and so on. Maybe it will get into the server's OS level, right? Then at the database layer, patch management, sensitive database, right? Like privacy data, customer data, right? These are hot topics nowadays. Yeah, and how is the data recovery, right? And so on. So this is just a snapshot, but when we have more detailed conversation, right, then we will be able to deep dive into each of the topic and share with you more about how we manage this. Yeah. Okay, so we have been talking about the cybersecurity key points, right? But how we actually monitor that, or has a like what we are doing for business control, right? So let me just show you this page. Yeah. So basically, you can see from this page that we have a similar setup, but it's just tagging for different layers. So what we are doing is we have our Deloitte framework, just now the control library, right? The IT control library, cybersecurity control library. We need to put into a solution is either into SAP Solution Manager or into GRC or the other solution that you may have. But for example, I put up this SAP Solution Manager example. So we have these cybersecurity controls we put into Solution Manager. The Solution Manager will do auto monitoring. All right, they will do auto monitoring for application, for database, for OS. All right, when there is a problem, the Solution Manager will send an email to the IT security admin or IT security officer. Right, so it's basically the robustic monitoring capacity on your digital assets. Right, then this is from our point of view is this is the only possible way that we are able to manage the complication in a digital world. Right, you cannot rely on human being to monitoring your IT systems. You must have something is running automatically, monitoring the cybersecurity of your IT systems or your cloud or your network or your OS or database. Right. So this is no choice, right? Have to go in this way. Another thing I want to share with you is how do I say? These things also have dashboards, right? Also have dashboards. So when we have a project like this went live, right? You will have dashboard like this. Yeah, maybe not this page. Yeah, so let me just put up an example of the dashboard. Just a moment, let me just put up an example for this cybersecurity dashboard. Yeah. So what we put here, all right, give you example. Yeah. So let me just zoom in, make it bigger so that easier for you to see. This is a cybersecurity. So this is an example that you can expect, right? So there will be a cybersecurity monitoring, right? Like just now our business control monitoring or ICFR control, right? This is for IT, right? So for IT securities or cybersecurity. So it goes by system. So the system may have ERP, CRM, Oracle, and so on, right? Then by controls, by these key controls, then each control you will have some like control details, like whether you are good or bad, right? So you will be able to know. Of course, the green door, you see the green door here is the okay, means you are fine, right? The red item means there are some concerns from the cybersecurity monitoring or control monitoring, right? You need to pay attention, all right? So this is a very straightforward outcome that you can expect from this cybersecurity solution, right? So, but of course, let's say if you are not using this, you are using some like a Power BI or using Tableau or some other stuff, right? The dashboard maybe looks different, but the content itself will be similar, right? So you will be able to highlight about which application, what layer is that application, or is that OS, or is that network, right? Has concern, right? Then you will be able to quickly look into those areas and take actions, right? Instead of that, you don't know what's going on, and later part you got this cyber security problems, all right? Okay, I hope this give you a good idea. Right, let me back to the presentation. Okay, yeah. Since let's say we talk about a lot of SAP solutions, right? SAP solutions, but actually Deloitte as a consulting services provider, right? We actually has a lot of solutions that developed by Deloitte ourselves, right? So maybe I just give you an example. Yeah. So why I bring up in this webinar is because that we understand that the SAP solutions itself is a little bit expensive, right? It's a bit costly, right? So what we have done for now, right, is we do have our Deloitte in-house developed the solution, right, perform similar functionality like what SAP GRC solutions offer, right? So for example, like SAP GRC have access control, then Deloitte has access risk management, right? We do similar things. Then this SAP have process control. We also have SAP control automation for ICFR developed by Deloitte. Then SAP have cybersecurity monitoring stuff. We also have, right? So it's just alternative for the official SAP products. Yeah. So just make it clearer that the SAP products, right, sell by SAP, they have their official products, right? Then for Deloitte, we can do the implementation, and we do a lot of implementation for those SAP solutions, right? So you will have Deloitte implementation service fee plus SAP license fee. Okay, so this was two fees. For the one that I'm sharing just now, the Deloitte solution will be it's developed by ourselves, by Deloitte. Right? Then we install in your SAP environment. Then we only incur this implementation services. So there is no SAP license cost. Right? Just want to openly share with our audience today. Right? But both solutions doing both either the blue one from SAP or the green one from Deloitte perform a very similar stuff. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I maybe have a pause here. All right. We have 15 minutes left, so maybe I want to hear from our audience today to say how's your view, any questions or any points you want to highlight, sharing. Right, feel free to raise. All right, let me back to our topic. Right, let me just take a look about the questions we have received so far. Let me take a look.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tanki, for the presentation. Now I would like to invite all of you to the Q&A section. And please remember to write all of your questions to the Q&A box, and we'll have the expert here to handle it for you. Now I have here some questions for you, Mr. Tanki. The first question is, how many companies did Deloitte train for SAP ERP in Vietnam, and what is the feedback for end user normally?
Okay, in terms of training, right? Training we did a lot. I think we did a lot of training. In Vietnam, I think I personally for myself, right? I went to a Vietnam company in Ho Chi Minh, produced the drink, produced the soft drink. I know it's the #1 drink in Vietnam market. So we did the training there, and I think nowadays they are using a lot of SAP solutions already. I did the training like a few years back, like 2017 or 16. That is my personal experience. So when we do the training, we will have like deep dive sessions like what we did today, and we have Deloitte system sandbox, right? Will be open for the company, to the Vietnamese company to attend our training. So they will use the system, play with the system, and get to know how the digital operation, digital controls looks like. Yeah. But in my experience, that not only just the company, I personally conducted the training. Our team in Vietnam has did a lot of trainings. For example, there are car manufacturing companies attended our training. There are cement manufacturing companies attend our training, and many. Yeah, so not a small practice in Vietnam. Yeah. In general, the feedback from the users I realized is the training shall be in Vietnamese, right? Cannot be English. That's my learning. Second one is we need to tailor the training content into the, for example, like the local operation. There will be some localization that we need to do. Yeah, that's some feedbacks I have.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tanki. So now I have another question for you. What is the average implementation time for each solution to realize quick wins or quick benefits?
Okay, so in terms of timeline, normally, for example, like this digital control, business control digitalization and cybersecurity controls, right? We recommend that you can start with a quick assessment. So basically, Deloitte already built the robot in our environment, right? So what we will do is we will download some data from your SAP's environment or other digital system that you are using to assess either the business controls or the cybersecurity controls. So basically one for business, one for IT, all right? So we will assess that. After we assess it, then you will be able to say how is your current digital controls are working or not, right? Then normally this quick assessment maybe take like 8 weeks, yeah, maybe around 2 months time, right? So you will have like a gap analysis, right? So after that, we can plan a roadmap about the digitalization. So the roadmap can be, or maybe from our assessment, we realize that procure to pay is the area that we need to build up the digital controls. Okay, so then we plan a project, let's say, to focus on procure to pay. Then, or we realize there are a lot of problems in cybersecurity, in IT, right? Then we need to focus on IT. So we need to do a planning, right? We cannot do a big bang. What I mean by cannot do a big bang is, for example, like this page, we cannot like one project cover everything, right? So we normally go by piece. So example of, let's say we do a procure to pay project, maybe it takes 4 months to 6 months, depends on how big your organization, right? Normally our projects are did for those big organizations or multinational leading companies, like in Vietnam, like a few makers in Vietnam, and also just now I mentioned the soft drink company, right, #1 in Vietnam, right? So those companies we are doing piece by piece, yeah. Then so in summary, you may have around two months time to do a quick win, to have assessment done, right? To understand how mature you are in this digital world, right? Second step is to implement the control robot, the control monitoring, the dashboards, and so on. Right? So that is the second step. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Tanki, for your answer. Now I have another question for you. Which solution is most trending or in demand in this point for SAP customers?
In that case, maybe I just go to SAP website. Easier, right? So SAP, yeah. So let me just go to SAP. Since this is a very interactive session, so let me just go to this, right? So if let's say I just go by products, right? You can see my screen here, right? So from SAP point of view, you can see they have ERP solution, CRM, and other social supply chain and HR, right? From my experience, the most popular one is ERP, right? What we call it the S/4HANA solutions, right? ERP and finance. The internal control automation, or the topics that we have today, is one of it under here, right? GRC and cybersecurity. Okay, so normally the client, they are doing their core operation in ERP and finance. They will have a few things all together, plus the GRC and cybersecurity. Okay, so they are in one portfolio. Okay, this is reports to CFO, right, or CEO, okay, of the firm. Second, popular solution will be supply chain management, right, logistic, yeah, for manufacturing companies. Third one will be CRM, right, CRM. Then of course the HR is another thing very popular. So nowadays we have success factors, we have Conquer, those solutions, right? So but in short, that for GRC and cybersecurity, they are sitting under ERP finance, but it's monitoring the whole SAP applications, all the other modules as well. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Tanki. I received another question from Mr. Trung Pham. Please share the disease SAP consultant roadmap in Vietnam and Southeast Asia.
SAP consultant roadmap. I think maybe I will clarify about this question. That it's like our implementation roadmap. We do have, yeah. So like how is the recommendation about how the SAP should be implemented, right? That one we can provide, yeah. We can follow up on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tanki, and thank you so much all the participations and the questions from you. We apologize for not being able to address all of your questions because we are running out of time now. However, we will address it later for all the attendants. For more information, please contact our team for support, or if you would like to discuss in private with our specialists, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And once again, thank you very much for joining our webinar today, Cyber Risk, Data Loss, Access Violation in SAP, a solution to secure your SAP environment. We look forward to seeing you at Deloitte's coming webinars.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you. Have a nice day.